I'm Kevin Casey. I'm a professional mixed martial arts fighter. And right now, what I'm about to do is issue a warning out to all other competitors.
I don't want overs. I just expect them to happen.
Fatty's gonna fatty is real.
Oh, give me fucking truth, baby! Come on! Let's go!
How have I been successful in life?
Hello there, folks. Welcome back. The MMA analysis back in your lives for another week. Mixed results last week, we will say. But I'm here with Shaun. Shaun, it's the All-Canadian edition again. And I'm going to say this bodes well for our countrymen as the World Lacrosse Championships start in about 50 minutes. Games are actually on real TV this year.
Yep.
This game's on TSN for us up here in the winning country. And I think like ESPN2 for our friends down south of the border. But good signs. Good things are coming. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Obviously this has been going on for a very long time. Excuse my ignorance of
I think the first one was back in the first one that we consider a modern one was like 67 or something like that.
Yeah, so is lacrosse the next big thing? Is it the fastest rising sport in North America, or what's going on? Why the bigger stage?
It's growing faster than pickleball, I'll say that.
Ooh, that's big prize there. That's the hotness.
Yeah, I don't know. It's since the I hate to give field lacrosse dorks too much credit, but since the PLL started up about 5 years ago, they've been able to get some decent media partnerships. They got a deal, like they started off on NBC and like Peacock and all that sort of stuff, and now they're on ESPN. They get some games on ABC. The NLL, which is the Box Lacrosse League, has a bunch of games on TSN and ESPN now. So, yeah, it's just these sports channels are looking for content, and
content, baby.
It's excellent content.
Yeah, maybe it'll push some of these other sports like MMA/UFC to put on a better product.
We can hope. We'll get there eventually. But I don't know what the UFC cards are drawing these days when they go on ESPN, but gotta think it's not as much as what we saw in the early Fox/ESPN days. So yeah, always good to have a little bit of competition when it comes to the sports market.
Sir.
MMA wise, how we doing? Anything crazy happen? Any news I should know about?
No, I mean, there's been some fights announced, but I mean, in this day and age, you shouldn't care too much until the day of the fight, because how often fights get scrapped. I would say for the most part, the kind of upper echelon fights, I think, have better track records than the random lower end stuff. But I don't know. There's some good pay-per-views coming up. I know we bitch when they're not good ones, but there is some good ones. There is some rough fight night cards coming as well, so you got to take the good with the bad.
Well,
you got to enjoy the good ones. That's what I've found.
Another Sean Strickland headline card next week,
against
right?
a debuting fighter. Yes, that is correct.
That's a thing that is happening.
I mean, it doesn't touch the July 15th card with Holly Holm taking on
greatest card of all time.
That will go. That's a new low. I mean, like, there's been some more. I mean, people are finally figuring it out a bit. Some people, and rightly queuing in on these weak cards that we are seeing more often than I think we're used to. There is going to be some rough talk. luckily it's kind of surrounded by some good fights, so people will kind of play it off as, well, we get the good and you got to take the bad. But that one is new
Extra
all-time bad in my opinion.
It's a month out and it already looks like hasn't been affected by injuries or anything like that. It already looks absolutely horrendous. So we'll see what actually happens. Maybe there'll be some injuries and they can get some decent last minute replacements to save that.
I mean, let's pray for a Holly Holm pullout.
Yeah. I don't think she believes in that, doesn't she? Yeah.
Touche.
Very Christian.
Unfortunately.
But yeah, we'll get there in a few weeks. I'm taking next week off because I'm going to be up at the cottage from Friday until Canada Day, whenever, like the following weekend. So got a nice 11 days up at the cottage. So that'll be fun.
Nice.
But we've got some fights to talk about from last weekend. Couple decent ones. Still UFC hanging out at the Apex, just putting on not great cards with some very entertaining fights.
And of course, dumb shit as well. You gotta add the sprinkle in some dumb shit, some referee shit, some fighter shit, all kinds of fun stuff.
Baby, yes, was there dumb shit. We'll just go from the bottom up. And we'll give these the time that they deserve. The Modest Bukaki unanimous decision over Zach Pauga. Daniel Argueta submits Ronnie Lawrence, or was on his way to submitting Ronnie Lawrence, until good old Booze and Cigs Keith Peterson decided to grab Ronnie Lawrence's arm, I guess, to see if he was still awake, even though he didn't look anywhere close to going out. And then Lawrence pulls his arm away from Keith and it hits Argueta's body. And then he claimed that he tapped. That was horrific stuff from Keith. Maybe not even the worst reffing moment of the night, though. Following fight, Teresa Bleda, unanimous decision over Gabriela Fernandez. I watched it, no memory of it. And then good old Jaron Villel. This man, a legend of the Canadian MMA scene. I think he's from our buddy Chris's neck of the woods out in Winnipeg. Carlos Hernandez slams Dennis Bondar. Their heads touch a little bit. Bondar goes out. Hernandez then proceeds to destroy him with about 7 elbows after he was already unconscious.
Unanswered.
Villel stops the fight, and then they go back and be like, no, headbutt knocked him out. We're going to go to the scorecards on this one. Just so much of it was so bad. I don't know if you have thoughts on this scenario, Shaun, but woof, Jaron Villel.
Yeah, he I feel like he took a decent break from the UFC. It's probably because we haven't been to Canada in 4 years. I didn't really see him too much doing much work in Vegas. I think it might have been, I don't know if it was just a short week. I mean, I know there was 2 cards on Friday on PFL and Bellator, so I don't know if that had something to do with it. But yeah, he is easily one of the worst refs in a major promotion, because he fucks up a lot. There's in every way. It's not just one where he's he just lets guys get the shit beat out of him. He fucks up things so much. He should get more shit for it, and he should not be reffing at this level. It's plain and simple. He's terrible.
You know what else he shouldn't be?
A judge?
The Deputy Minister of Economic Development, Investment, and Trade for the province of Manitoba.
Yep.
This dude is making decisions about economic development, investment, and trade. dude that can't even ref or judge an MMA fight.
I mean, there is a reason why Winnipeg's in the shape it is. I'm sure he's having a nice little hand in that.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. Yeah, I thought we were done with him. He has never been great, and it seems like he is now worse.
Yep.
So that is no bueno for anybody. Yeah, I didn't look at bonuses or anything for this. I don't know if Hernandez would have gotten a bonus anyway, but I mean, taking away the stoppage from him there, I get it. Their heads did clash a little bit, but that's a normal thing on takedowns.
That's a slam. Before. That's a slam. Yep. Rampage didn't win that Arona fight either. That was a no contest.
No. Frank Shamrock didn't beat Igor Zinoviev. Tito, that was a no contest against Evan Tanner back in the day. None of those count.
Nope.
Anyways, moving along. Mr. Perfect, Kyung Ho Kong, submission, rear naked choke over Christian Quinones. Looked that was an action-packed 2.5 minutes in that fight. Both guys landed, and he just ended up getting on top and landing the harder shot, and then finding the back and getting the choke. Alexandro Costa did what you would expect to happen to Jimmy Flick if he can't immediately get a takedown and submit somebody. I mostly had the under there, but did take the dumb shot on Flick round 1 sub. But hey,
I mean, that was his chance. I mean, that seems to be like his only chance, because this dude gets beat up, and his leg will get chewed up. He'll get punched a lot. Like, yeah, unfortunately, with guys that kind of pull some rabbits, they kind of get exposed a bit against some decent guys in the UFC. Yeah, guy who was fighting looked pretty damn good.
Yeah, I've got one. I'm trying to build one of those analogies where I'm like, Jimmy Flick is the this of this. He's like the Matt Schnell of very brittle something or other. That's what Jimmy Flick is these days. I missed these next two fights. Well, I missed the next fight. I saw the finish from the one following it, but Nicholas Dalby, career resurgence, gets the unanimous decision over Muslim Salikov. Shaun, talk me through this one.
I had parlayed Salikov, so we know what happened. Salikov, I thought, looked good. He looked good in the first round. And then he got clipped with a big one. Dalby was able to catch him, and then he got a takedown in round 2. And it was kind of just rolling downhill. His cardio looked good. He just kept coming forward. Dude was getting hit with some shots, but he was taking them well. Props to Dalby. That was a good performance for him.
He's always eaten a pretty good shot, except from juiced up Jesse Ronson.
Yeah.
And then following that one up, Manuel Torres enters the pantheon of tremendous elbow TKOs or knockouts. The way the guys fall when they get elbow KO'd on the feet, just beautiful, beautiful stuff. It's like the stumble back, and then they do like the full flare flop right on their face. I mean, not good for them or their health, but we're not here for anybody's good times or health except our own.
That's an all-time. You got to rank that pretty high up there in all-time elbow KOs, because just the sheer brutality of it, just so clean as you really can throw an elbow like that. He was getting hit a bit before he landed that, but his offense, I mean, not surprising what he did on the regional scene and stuff like that. His offense is definitely there. It's just that defense. We'll see how long till that defense catches up to him, or if he, gets good enough where he can kind of get it closer to reasonable, and then he could be very good because that offense is pretty nasty.
I think at the lower level, the chin's good enough that it can hold up for him, but we'll see once he starts to take a step or two up.
Yep.
Next up, that was the first. Oh, we've already got a couple fights on the main card. Look at us go. Pat Sabatini, clinic on Lucas Almeida. If guys don't clip Sabatini early in fights, he is a problem.
Yep. Yeah, I paid for this one. I just threw a little dart on Almeida TKO, and that had no chance in hell. Like you said, where was this Pat Sabatini against Damon Jackson? But if you clip him, I mean, you got a chance. But damn, I don't think he's gonna take many chances anymore. And when he gets on you, he's pretty relentless. So yeah. Props to him. He beat the shit out of Almeida. That was a solid 10-8 round, and the judges correctly actually scored it that way. So that's always good when they do that.
Incredible. You love to see it.
Yep.
Next up, consensus hits. Armen Petrosian takes the decision over Christian Leroy Duncan. That guy is not very good. Has the flashy stuff and nothing of substance beyond the flashy stuff. So as we suspected, the technical striker really just kind of put on a clinic there. I don't know what the commentary team was watching because they were enamored with Duncan's something.
Yeah, they got hypnotized. I don't. You would hope a better Dominic Cruz would be smarter than that. He got sucked in. I mean Duncan has some flashy shit, and that'll work against lower end guys. He seems like he has decent power because on the rare occasion he did land, it did a little bit of damage, but Petrosian just ate him up. Just a much better technical fighter, and Duncan couldn't really come up with something better. Tried grappling a bit, got that shit shut down.
Yeah, when you can't grapple Armen Petrosian, you're not going to sub him. Much better grapplers have tried. But if you can't even out-wrestle him, then you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Doesn't have the big power, but the technical striking is very good. So, yeah, that was a nice hit on consensus.
Not too shabby. Co-main event, more competitive than I expected, more competitive than everyone expected. But even saying that, it was a pretty damn dominant performance from Armen Tsarukyan. Basically, Silva had one big shot that he landed. We'll talk about another guy where he had one big shot landed against him when we break down this week's card. But Tsarukyan's good.
Very good. But you get to you kind of start cruising and you can get caught. There's that guy has big power. Hopefully this gives us a cheaper number on him if he's fighting anybody decent and we can get a reasonable line, but he's very good. Got clipped. Shit happens. Positive on his side is he can grapple like a motherfucker. So if he gets clipped, he can still kind of grapple his ass off. It's not like a guy that's just a striker or something. So if they get clipped, then they're kind of screwed. So resistance is good, I think. I mean, it's going to make him better so he doesn't get clipped next time. I just hope he fights somebody decent because even with this happening, it was a pointless matchup. It did nothing really for Tsarukyan. Hopefully somebody decent fights him.
It helps him get through that first UFC contract.
Oh, I also parlayed the under 2.5 in that fight. So if you're wondering, I did have Tsarukyan TKO.
25 of the third round.
Yeah, I did have Tsarukyan TKO, so it could have been a real bad loss, but yeah, it's good. It's good.
just a medium bad loss.
Mhm.
Good wins, never in doubt wins. The goes the distance in the main event. Jared Cannonier just put an absolute thrashing on Marvin Vettori for 25 minutes, and he whooped that ass for basically the entire 25 minutes. It was, I had never expected to see that sort of pace, especially over 5 rounds out of Jared Cannonier. Vittori's skull is insane. The man doesn't have a brain. That's the only logical explanation for the way he can take the punishment that he does. But that was way more fun than I thought that fight was going to be.
Yeah, it turns out Vettori can have a fun fight. He's just got to get his absolute shit rocked for 25 minutes. Man, the Cannonier had them crystals cooking on Saturday, because he looked good, and this dude is not really young anymore, and was able to just keep going for 25. Yeah, Vettori, I hope he's, I don't know. It's gonna get bad when it goes bad with him, because he hasn't really shored up that defense whatsoever. It's kind of still the same as it was when he entered the UFC, which isn't a good thing, and he's just relying on a granite chin that eventually it will crack.
And like the wrestling isn't very good
it's
either.
Not, yeah, it's he used to be able to get away at the lower levels with either being able to grapple guys or just grind on guys, and you can't do that. Hindsight 2020, I think Cannonier was definitely the play here. We probably should have known a bit when Vettori's having a very close striking match with Roman Dolidze. But hindsight 2020.
Yeah, kudos to Cannonier betters.
Yeah.
Dodged any sort of bullet on Vettori on this one, but
Wes had Cannonier by decision. That was a nice number he got there, and that was
he was talking. That was like what, 300 or something like that.
Yeah, because I think like widely, like non bad lines, it was like 250, I think, and he got like, might even got 350 or something. It was a good number.
Wes is he's been on Cannonier a couple times in
Yep.
like, I remember the Gastelum fight. He was on Cannonier by decision in that one, and he's got a good read on the Crystal Man. I
The
think
man knows his crystals, obviously.
Yeah, I think our boy Wes is into the crystals, and he can read.
I mean,
the
should
old
we be
tea leaves.
surprised in the crystals in Kentucky?
Absolutely not. Anyway, that's going to do it for last week's card. Moving on to this week, 14 fights. This is on ABC, allegedly.
Yeah, this is what they're bringing to ABC, eh?
Yeah. Good thing about that, 5-fight main card. It's not very good.
No.
The main event's good. The fight kicking off the main card, pretty good. And there's some other weird stuff sprinkled throughout. I know that we might have some different orders here, so you're just gonna have to bear with me on this one, Sean.
Got to start with the flyweights.
That's not what I have. But all right, let's.
Were you thinking that somehow Cody Brundage versus Sedriques Dumas is not on the main card of an ABC card? Were you thinking that it was going to open this card? Are you kidding me with that?
I'm glad that that they moved that one, because it's going to be a show.
It is going to be a show for all the ABC watchers.
All of Jacksonville is going to come out to support the dumbass. But we are going to kick it off in the flyweight division. I've got the right order now. This is actually a good fight to open up a card. Tatsuro Taira. I don't know why this dude is still buried on the very first fight of a card. Taking on Clegerson Rodrigues. Rodrigues, I guess is Brazilian, but still pretty high on Taira over here.
Like Taira should be like main eventing the prelim cards at this point. He's I'm pretty sure he's open cards in back-to-back fights. This guy, he's good. He's a good prospect. He's from an Asian country. You would think the UFC would be pushing him a little harder. I don't really understand what the UFC does from time to time, or a lot of the time, but Taira's good. I mean, his grappling is very good. I think he's able to get Clidson Rodrigues down and likely sub him. Rodrigues, I don't think he's that good. You're not that special for just demolishing Shannon Ross. He looked okay in the Vergara fight, but I think Taira's grappling is just going to be too much for him, and probably sub him.
Yeah, I really kind of wish that we got this matchup when he came into the UFC and fought CJ Viagra instead, because I think we would have gotten a good line on Taira. Not that this one's terrible, like minus 250, whatever. But there was a lot of hype on Rodrigues coming off of the Ultimate Fighter. Or not the Ultimate Fighter, Contender Series, whatever. It's all the same shit now. Apparently, Ultimate Fighter's back.
I mean, not really. Ultimate Fighter is veteran guys just beating the shit out of wannabe prospects.
Is that what it's turned into?
That's what it's turned into.
Incredible. I mean, that's kind of what Contender Series is probably going to turn into.
Kind of, yeah.
Next season or two.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, I think that Taira's got him covered just about everywhere here. The striking, it's not his strong suit, but it's not terrible. He's long. He somewhat knows how to use his length at flyweight. And then when guys close the distance, he can hop around to the back, and he's pretty nasty once he gets on somebody's back. So I like Taira here. I think he probably gets a sub. Not sure that I'm going to want to bet that specifically, but he seems like a guy that I wouldn't hate parlaying in this spot. So Tatsuro Taira going to be the pick for me. Featherweight division, we've got Jocelyn Jack Jenkins, or whatever his like weird curly mustache nickname is. He's one of those guys that has like a weird haircut and mustache. When I picture
he's rocking the mullet.
Yeah, when I picture him in my mind, I kind of just see Brad Pickett.
With a mullet, though. Brad Pickett with a mullet.
Yeah. So there you go. Anyway, he's taken on Jamal Emmers, the man who almost killed Pat Sabatini and then decided to go for a heel hook instead.
Yeah, that's... I mean, at least he landed that bomb, though. I think Emmers is probably the better MMA wrestler in this one, and I think he's the better striker. The fight IQ is a little bit to be desired. I think he wins here. I don't think Jack Jenkins is that good, but I don't really want to have money on Jamal Emmers at this point.
Yeah, it's creeping up. He's the type of guy that you should be able to bet safely just with his skill and physical ability. Should being the operative word there. Not so much. I was impressed when he fought Giga. I've been impressed in a couple of his other performances, but it always seems like he's just one absolute bonehead decision away from blowing a fight. I don't necessarily think that Jenkins has the stopping power to make that happen here. So 200 probably isn't a terrible price. It's just he's one of my guys that's close to the I'm not betting you list. Moving along to the lightweight division, we've got Jose Shepe Mariscal taking on the. How does this man not have a nickname? He's got to have, like, I don't know. He's from the Bama Basher or something. Trevor Peak. I'll come up with Trevor Peekaboo. You never know. We'll come up with something. But no prep done for nicknames on this show. But the man is entertaining to watch. We'll say that.
He'd be a scary dude to run up on when you're in the backwoods of Alabama. That's for sure. Man, it's interesting seeing who Mariscal has fought. He's kind of fought a bunch of kind of guys that have made it to the UFC. Lost to Gregor Gillespie. He's lost to a bunch of these. Lost to Bryce Mitchell. Beat Pat Sabatini. Beat Yusuf Zalal, but then lost to Anderson Brito, Steve Garcia, Sean Soriano. So he's definitely fought like a bunch of guys. He just hasn't really put together a streak to get him to the UFC. That doesn't seem to matter anymore. So I'm kind of surprised it's taken him this long. Hasn't really beaten anybody recently that great on the regional scene. Pretty mediocre guys. I think Trevor Peak probably takes it to him. He's already been there in the UFC. I think he's just better. So I'll pick Peak to win.
Yeah, I've seen Mariscal fight a few times back in the day on like old Ring of Combat cards and things like that. Haven't seen the most recent stuff. Like I didn't see his last fight in LFA, but he's generally one of those kind of savvy regional scene kind of guys that has success there. And then as you can see from his record, every time he tries to step up in competition a little bit, it tends to be a bit too much for him. And I think technically he's probably better than Trevor Peak everywhere. But Trevor Peak is just an absolute batshit insane fighter. It seems like you would need a baseball bat and a shovel to take this guy out. And he's just going to keep coming at you. And Mariscal has been finished several times before in his career on the regional scene, usually against those UFC level fighters. I don't think that Peak is on their level from a skill perspective, but just the way that this guy comes at you, he's going to land something at some point. You're going to land on him as well, but he seems like he can take it and eventually get somebody out of there. So I'm probably going to end up betting Trevor Peak if this stays around even money. I've been trying my best to wait until Friday or Saturday night to make my bets these days. It seems to make the decision-making process a little more clear. But if he's still around that spot come Friday, Saturday, then...
How good is Mariscal's grappling?
Not great.
Okay, then...
especially the wrestling. Like, defensively, he can tend to grapple a little bit. But the offensive wrestling isn't good.
Yeah. So you're probably on the right track.
Yeah. Actually, if you look at his records, he's got 3 sub wins and 2 of them are triangles. So that tells you a little bit about what position he usually ends up in when the fight hits the ground.
Yep.
So yeah, Trevor Peak might be a little bet. Women's strawweight division, Jillian Robertson, pound for pound number 4 Canadian, taking on Tabitha Ricci. People apparently are very insistent that we know that her nickname is Baby Shark for some reason.
Yeah, who cares?
I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
Are we going to see armbar from guard, Brad? feel
From
like
which
we
one
haven't
of them?
seen one of those in a little while. We're a little due, and we're in a Jillian Robertson fight, so I think it's possible. It's definitely possible. I think Tabitha Ricci has the better offensive grappling, so she's probably going to be on top. So there's going to be chances for armbar from guard, but I think eventually she's just going to be too much for the Canadian. Canadians won way too much in Vancouver, so the drought is near, and it probably starts on Saturday.
We are very due to have a downswing in this one. Yeah, I don't have a ton to say on this one, except that I would kind of suspect that actually I don't know who's going to take who down in this fight. I just think whoever shoots first is probably going to take the other one down because neither of them has good takedown defense. But yeah, I think it could be possible that there's an armbar from guard from either of them.
Yep.
It's what's the round one armbar either person finish? I don't think we get those lines, but
do we list those? I don't think it gets that specific.
No, we should. Yeah, I don't have a strong lean one way or the other here. I guess Ricci, but I don't know. She's probably gonna be smaller here too, which could be tough because Robertson's actually pretty good in top position. Moving on, lightweight division, Mateusz Rębecki, or like Rębecki, because Polish people are weird and they pronounce things weird. I'm allowed to say that. I'm Ukrainian, so it's okay, folks.
Same thing, right?
Don't come at me. And he is taken on. Who's he taking on? The Loik Radzhabov, old PFL veteran.
Yeah, this is an all international affair. I like the over 2.5 in this fight. I think there's gonna be plenty of grappling in this fight, and these guys are probably gonna slow down, and it's gonna get sloppy. I do think. I think Radzhabov is going to have the better grappling, and I wouldn't be surprised if he definitely has more top time. What he does with it, I'm not too sure because both these guys seem to be pretty solid grapplers. So I put the over in a parlay. I was tempted to bet Radzhabov, but I am passing on that. But I'm going to pick him in Toutmaster.
I think the big difference for me in this fight is Rębecki's pace. I think he's going to be able to sustain those grappling sequences a little bit longer than Loik did. Neither of these guys is a particularly potent striker. Radzhabov's striking and his defense really didn't look very good in that UFC debut against Esteban. So that has me a bit concerned. Obviously, he got dropped in one of the rounds, but he was pretty soundly outstruck for any period of time they were on the feet. He could just get takedowns whenever the hell he wanted in that fight. I don't really think that he's going to have that escape path here against Mateusz. I think there's going to be a lot of pace coming from the pole, and eventually he's going to eke out a decision. So I know this one's lined tightly. It's a little too tight for me to want to back Rębecki at minus 150, but I do think that he is going to pull off a decision. And that over that you took, Sean, I'm feeling pretty safe about it. Definitely like that better than the plus 150 Rębecki decision prop. Welterweight division, dropping down from middleweight. Turman is here, Shaun. He's down in welterweight. He's ready to just plop down into the division and make some waves. And he's taken on Randy Brown. So the UFC always seems to do this, where like a guy drops down in weight and they're like, who is either like the biggest, strongest, or just the tallest, longest guy we can find in the weight class you just dropped down to? So weird to me.
Yeah. I never thought the Turman is that good. Eked out a win against Sam Alvey in what year is that? 2021. That's eked out a win. That's great. I know he got the win against Serkinov, but yeah, that Serkinov is a flake.
Misha went full Canadian, and
he went full Canadian. He was not Latvian that night, that's for sure. Yeah, Randy Brown ran into a buzzsaw. There's no shame in losing to Jack Della Maddalena. Before that, he had a good run. Throws a decent amount of strikes. I think the volume and length is going to be too much. Randy Brown is probably going to win a decision here. I think the Turman can take it, but yeah, I couldn't find a parlay partner for old Brown, so I left him be. I'm not going to mush him.
It's very kind of you.
Yep.
I agree with most of what you said. I'm not sure, however, that especially dropping down to 170, that the Turman's going to be able to take it here.
Yeah, if Brown puts a pace on him, it might be an exhaustion TKO, to be fair.
Could be exhaustion. I mean, this is the dude that got knocked out by Andrew Sanchez as well.
Oh my God.
I mean, I know Andrew Sanchez is good in round one, but he's not that kind of good in round one. So could see Randy Brown taking over in round two or round three, finding that chin, or as you said, the Turman just getting a little worn out and Brown starting to put it on him. So I think that he's probably going to look good early. Assuming he makes weight and all that stuff. He's in the garage. Glover's going to make sure that he makes weight. You don't get to come back to the garage if you miss weight. But after that, man, he didn't strike me when he was at 185 as a guy who needed or should drop down to 170.
No.
So those ones always concern me a little bit. It seems like a drop for the sake of shit's not going my way. Let's change something for the sake of changing something instead of just continuing to get better. And we'll see how the chin and cardio hold up with the extra few pounds missing. What's Randy Brown TKO is only plus 190. I'll have to look and see. Round 2, 550. Round 3, 1200. Those are starting to get a little bit more tempting. Maybe we'll get back to our roots and have a little Randy Brown round 3 on this one. I could certainly see that coming into play in this fight. Heavyweights. This one was originally supposed to be on the main card, and thank God they moved it.
It might still be. I don't know if I'm questioning the old Wikipedia. Usually it's on the ball, but it might not be on this one. It's a bit of a shit show this card. So this might be the third from the top, or it might be buried on the prelims.
Yeah, on the UFC website, it's still third. So yeah, I hope that is not accurate, because Justin Tafa, Justin Badman Tafa, bad at fighting Tafa, taking on Austin Lane. Austin Lane, best known for, I guess, getting drafted but not really panning out in the NFL, and then getting knocked out by Greg Hardy.
Yeah.
He's gone on a bit of a run since then. He what is he? 6 wins in a row now. A win over Juan Adams.
Big dub there.
Yeah. But yeah, he's back in the UFC. Obviously, a decent athlete, but a lot of these decent athletes don't necessarily turn into decent fighters. And Tafa is of the Polynesian variety, and those dudes, regardless of how bad they are as athletes, are usually fighters. So, kind of interesting contrast here.
It's true, but this is still low-level heavyweights. Austin Lane, it's kind of a home game for him. I think that's where he's training in Florida. So, dude has pretty good power. I think Justin Tafa is very bad. He's crushed some terrible competition in his last 2 fights in the UFC, but this is still a guy who lost to Van Derabred and Carlos Felipe. So I threw a half a unit on Lane by TKO plus 300. Low level heavyweights, you're given, and it's not low level like fatties kind of heavyweights that we're praying for an over 1.5 and it to get sloppy. I think these guys are gonna slang, and one of them's gonna hit, and one of them's gonna go down. Plus 300, I'll take that small bet on Lane.
Yeah, I feel like especially the Carlos Felipe loss from Tafa, that was back when people were like, "Oh, Carlos Felipe is thick Diaz."
Thick Diaz.
Like, the stupidest shit you've ever heard in your life.
So bad.
That one didn't age particularly well, but yeah, it's tough to know what's going to happen. I wish I could just bet some fatties and sit back on this one, but I think this is going to end quickly. We've seen that Tafa can put guys out of there. We've seen that Lane can be put out of there, and I mean, Lane has some power now. Tafa once got knocked out by Jorgen De Castro, which I'm not even sure how that happens because that dude only knows how to throw leg kicks. So there's high potential for a round 1 knockout in this fight. Under 1.5, like minus 225 is the best that's out there. I don't know. I don't think there's much of anything that's too intriguing for me in this fight. Maybe a little shot on Lane round 1 at like plus 400.
There you go.
Flyweight division, maybe. They found another victim for old Pally Pumakulov. Let's see if this guy will actually go through with the fight. When he shows up, he sees the haircut that's in front of him, and he knows what he's in store for. Parentheses, what he's in store for is probably a close split decision. But, Shaun, you think differently on this one, don't you?
I'm throwing a dart here. It's just the matchup. Like, I know Patty Pimlet's Kazakhstan brethren he's in a lot of decisions. I think the guy he's fighting is gonna force a fun, high-paced fight. Van is a pretty damn good regional fighter. They finally found a good one. I know they've been signing some trash cans, but this guy seems pretty good. He is very young.
We just said this about flyweights like a couple weeks ago.
I know.
That, like, most of them are bad, but then they go down to flyweight and they find these dudes, and they're usually good.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's because just like most of these guys, they have very good cardio because they're 125 and they have to fight anybody else that's 125 pounds. Like, and usually they're well rounded because they kind of have to do everything. This guy's offense is very good. I think he's gonna force a fun fight. But Van is young. He's 21 years old. He has fought a bunch. Considering he went pro in 2021 and he already has 8 fights. Hasn't fought this year yet, which is probably a good thing after a busy 2022. I think he can force a fight, and Zhalgas can be cracked. It wouldn't be an insane thing to see this guy crack him and put him out. And if he doesn't, then I think Zhalgas can take over and possibly get him out of there late. So I took under 2.5 at plus 160 for a unit.
Looking up old Joshua Van, and I have to say I'm a little disappointed. His given name, Joshua Thong.
The Thong song.
You can use that. Come out to Cisco. Dye your hair blonde. There's so much that you can do with your given name, but he wants to be Joshua Van. So for that reason, I'm gonna pick against him.
Smart.
Until he goes back to Joshua Thong and comes out to the cage to the Thong song. So it's gonna be Pally for me. Pally's gonna ride the haircut all the way to a decision victory because he knows no other way. And I think we'll see some spots out of Thong here, and he'll be one to look out for moving forward. I just think the short notice, the matchup is a really tough guy to look good against. So some of that flashy stuff that he's shown off on the regional circuit, maybe not going to come through in this particular matchup. Welterweight division, Philly Rowe taking on my man, Magny Madov. He's going to do it again, Sean. It's going to happen.
I'm not so sure. And I'm been plenty aboard the Magny Madov train. And lately it's been a little sketchy. Now, obviously, I was not going to bet him against Gilbert Burns, but I took him against Daniel Rodrigues, and shit got fucking hairy there until D-Rod had to gas out a bit. Magny's just getting hit more, and he's never really reacted well. It just seems like he's getting hit more and just reacting more these days. He's fighting a guy that has the same reach as him, which doesn't usually happen. Magny's usually able to outlength everybody at this weight class, but now obviously he's the better technical striker, so he's still going to be able to keep him at bay for the most part with the jab. But Phil Rowe obviously has a huge power advantage. I took a shot at Phil Rowe by TKO at plus 450 for a unit. I think that's his path to victory. I have a tough time seeing him kind of outpointing Magny. I think if he's able to catch Magny and get him out of there, that's his path, because if he doesn't, then Magny's going to volume him, and if Magny's able to wrestle, he's going to be able to get him down. But I think Rowe can likely stuff some early takedowns if they come and land a big one. So I'm rolling with Philly Rowe.
Can he stuff takedowns though?
I don't know, but Magny doesn't get normal takedowns. He gets the old clinch trip takedowns.
That's true.
We'll see if Phil Rowe's able to defend those. The double legs probably not, but we'll see if he can fight off the cage.
That's a fair point. I still think that this is going to be typical Magny fight. It's going to happen at range, and he's going to poke away, and maybe he's a little bit more cautious because Rowe has more power and has a similar reach to him. But then when it's not happening at range, it's going to be in the clinch. And I don't think Phil Rowe can deal with the Magny once they get inside and start to grapple a little bit. Even if he can stop the takedowns, he's going to get controlled there. Magny's going to shuck around to the back. Probably give him a couple of the old Magny mat returns, as he's known to do. And we're just going to see it start to pile up. I know that Rowe has a lot of later stoppages in fights, but those are either against guys who don't have good cardio or like Jason Witt just don't have a chin at all.
Yeah, catching them.
Yeah, and maybe Magny's starting to trend in that direction. I think he's not quite there yet. He will get there. Eventually, the dream will die. But if you're giving me Neil Magny decision at plus money against, not to be too disrespectful to Phil Rowe, but
how dare you?
One of the worst guys that Magny's faced in the past, 5 years, something like that. Pretty close to 5 years.
Yep.
I'm going to take Neil Magny by decision at plus money. So Magny Medov, take another look, Sonny. It's going to happen again. And we move on. Main card, middleweight division, Brendan Allen, Bruno Silva. Somebody going to die, Sean.
Somebody is going to die. This should be a fun fight. I think Brendan Allen's gonna force a fun fight. He had a good win out there last time against Muniz. Still got hit a good amount from a guy that's not really the greatest striker. Let's just say Bruno Silva is a much better striker and a much harder striker. We might see that Brendan Allen chin show up. It's definitely possible. Bruno Silva, I kind of wrote him off after that Mearshart fight. He was just completely lifeless in it. I don't know what happened to that dude that week. Sometimes guys just don't show up. I'm kind of siding with that he just had an absolutely horrible night and just didn't show up. Because next time out against Brad Tavares, a guy that, is fairly durable, he just absolutely smashed that dude. If he brings that, then he might be able to get a pretty good Brendan Allen out of there. It should be fun. I took under 2.5 at -190. I put it in a parlay. One way or another, one of these guys is getting out of there. I'll pick Bruno Silva to score the upset.
It's a tricky one. It to me, it's going to come down to how good is Bruno Silva's takedown defense in this one.
Yep. If
he can stop some takedowns and keep this on the feet, he is probably going to fuck Brendan Allen up. Allen's striking has improved. His kicking game specifically works the body a lot. But the chin is not quite there. The defense has never been there. And I think at this point, it's never going to get there. I'm kind of just scrolling through because if Allen does get on top, I think that it's quite possible that instead of getting a sub, that he's got nasty ground and pound. Sometimes he just gets position and pounds a dude out. It's also quite possible that, if this stays on the feet for any length of time, that Silva knocks him out. So I was looking at the either fighter by TKO. It's only plus 165, which I don't love. I figured that would be a little bit of a higher price. But the under here looks good. It's minus 186 at some Canby books. You said it was what, minus 190 at Bet Online?
365. Yeah, 365. Yeah.
So cheap prices there. Regardless of where this fight plays out, somebody is going to have a big advantage. So I like that under 2.5. Silva by TKO. I could certainly see that happening. That's around plus 300. But
Allen TKO plus 650. That do anything for you?
Round one?
No, just TKO.
Oh yeah, that's the other one. That's why I kind of look at the TKO price for both guys, because that Allen number was pretty high. I didn't think it would move the either by TKO by a lot, but I guess it depends what those specific books have. The Allen TKO is not too shabby at that 650 price, because I could certainly see him making that happen on the ground. So violence is the first order of the day, and then we'll see if we dive into some props after that. But maybe we go Taira and the under 2.5 in that fight, and that's one of our first parlays for the card. Next up, featherweight division. David Onama, the man who ruined James Krause, taking on Gabriel Santos. I'm not sure if you recall Santos's UFC debut. I had a bet against him with Lerone Murphy. And I was like, there's this newcomer coming in on 3 days notice. Lerone Murphy's only like, I don't know, minus 170 or whatever he was.
Cheap.
Yeah, it's a cheap price. If this guy's that good, then he's that good. And he was just about
close.
That good.
Yep. Onama opened minus 275 in this fight at Bet Online.
No.
Yep. And he went to plus
Dave
285
at the wheel
instantly. Yeah, one of those head scratching openers. Yeah, like you said, Gabriel Santos looked very good. I'm always a little bit hesitant when guys look good in a loss to a decent guy as a late notice. But the guy showed good skills, so I kind of get it. I don't know what.
There's also an argument to be made that he did win that fight. So
yes, yeah, 100%. And this is probably an okay matchup for him as well. Like I get the line movement. He's probably going to be able to out grapple David Onama. But yeah, I'm always leery of guys that look good. If he looks good again, then he is legit. It's just I do worry sometimes because I've definitely been burnt after kind of believing the hype in a loss on short notice. But I'll pick Gabriel Santos to win.
That is always a good ground rule. Don't get too caught up with the performance in a loss. But man, the thing that I take away from that performance against Murphy the most was that he can actually like wrestle a little bit. And I think back to when Onama, I think he came in on short notice against Mason Jones in his UFC debut, and he couldn't really wrestle at all against a Welsh dude. I think he's Welsh. Some sort of UK, Great Britain sort of thing going on there. But that's a bit concerning because I think he's going to have to deal with some takedowns here. I think that Gabriel Santos is going to get on top. Maybe he's not quite as goofy once he gets on top and just like stands up and lets Onama up and actually, gets some top control and uses that to win some rounds. But yeah, I think that Santos is a very deserved favorite here. Onama's still got a lot of ways to go in terms of the technical aspect. He's got the physical skills, but he also took a beating in that last fight. And always kind of interesting to see how somebody bounces back from a performance like that. So I like Gabriel Santos. Don't necessarily think I'm going to be parlaying him or anything crazy like that. But I think that he is a reasonable pick here. And we'll see. Maybe the tune changes as we get closer to the weekend. The one we almost talked about at the very start, Sean. Hopefully this is third from the top. Middleweight division. We've got Sedriques Dumas taking on Cody Brundage. Should be a sight to behold.
Yeah, this is a special one. Brundage, he's had some rough goes recently. The fight IQ is always a question with Brundage. He's definitely taken some beatings. If he's able to take down Dumas, then he'll probably be able to win. But man, he fucks up a lot. So it just because it looks like it's going that way, it might not cross the finish line. And when this is on the feed, I think Dumas is definitely going to be the much better striker, and he's going to be able to clip that chin and get him out of there. Cody Brundage he's not that good, man. Like he's looked bad in most of his fights, and he's probably going to look bad here.
I feel like the only fight that he's had, Contender Series or UFC, where he hasn't been on death's doorstep at one point or another, was the Tresean Gore fight. And yep. I know that Gore ended up pulling out that guillotine against the giraffe in his last fight. He's now a giraffe. He wasn't a giraffe before. But I mean, if that's the only guy that you're looking great against, that's not ideal. So he's gonna have to go for takedowns. He's gonna have to get takedowns, and he's probably gonna have to keep going for takedowns in this fight. And at some point, I think early on, the Dumas is going to land on him. And when that happens, I don't think that Brundage is going to wear it well. I think that we're going to have the man from Pensacola, Florida. I don't know how close Pensacola is to Jacksonville. I feel like it's close. He went to the University of West Florida. And like the only West Florida is like the little panhandle, right? So that's kind of close to Jacksonville. He's got the home crowd with him in this one, or at least in my mind, he does. He certainly got the streets with him. The streets won't forget Sedriques Dumas, but he's also got the MMA analysis with him on this one.
Here we go.
We're going with Sedriques Dumas. Plus 163, consensus bet of the week. If you can't find the 163 at Betway, plus 160 at DraftKings, plus 155s and 150s out there in a bunch of spaces. So lots of money to be had on Sedriques Dumas heading into this one. And now we move on to the real stuff, Sean. Co-main event, women's flyweight division. The people have been clamoring for this one. Amanda Ribas taking on Macy, the future hairstylist. She's still hanging around MMA, though. I don't know how long it takes to get through the old esthetician's course or whatever she's doing in college. But she's certainly taking her time.
Love it. I really like the over in this fight, over 2.5. If Ribas is having success, she's getting Barber down, and from what we've seen from Macy Barber, she's very hard to sub, and she kind of grits it out and has decent sub defense. So I doubt we see Ribas catching anything when she gets her down. And when this is on the feet, Barber's using her forward pressure to just kind of make Ribas take back steps and get clipped. But Barber doesn't really have big power. So I think this sails over 2.5. I put 2.5 in a parlay with Brendan Allen and Silva under 2.5 plus 119 for a unit. And then I paired it with the Rębecki and Radzhabov over 2.5 at plus 133 for a unit. Don't ask me why, but the judges really seem to like Macy Barber. She has been in some tight decisions where I thought she lost and the judges gave it to her. She's in close fights and the judges like whatever that she's doing. A lot of it's forward pressure. I think if she can stay off the ground for a decent amount of time, I think she can win a decision here. So I took a half a unit on Barber by decision at plus 350.
I can see it. I can certainly see it. I kind of wish that the version of Barber that initially came into the UFC was coming into this fight, because I would be very tempted to take some of the TKO prop. I still think that Ribas is a little chinny. And now she's sort of like flopping between 125 and 115, maybe being up at 125. That's going to help her chin a little bit more. So that wouldn't be quite as much of a factor. But I don't know. Sometimes you see that in a fighter, and like getting dropped by old Vina Handyjoba, not a great sign. Knocked out by Marina Rodrigues, not a great sign. So if Barber was still sort of the aggressive kind of brawler that she came into the UFC was, I'd actually give her a little bit of a better shot in this one, because then she's got a couple different paths to victory. I still think I got a kind of hat tip, dog or pass on this one if I'm playing it. And as you said, the judges seem to love what Barber brings to the table, even if that is shadow boxing an opponent that's like 4 feet in front of her actual opponent. Hey, whatever works. But I don't know that I'm going to have a play on this one, just because I could see, or in my mind, I think I want to see a knockout from Barber, just because that would be hilarious. But I think the more likely scenario is that this does go over 2.5, and then it's just a coin flip on the decision. So yeah, I probably staying away. Don't hate your parlay. Not going to tail you on it, because you've had the worst luck that I've ever seen for the past 6 months. And I'm trying to stay as far away from that as possible.
Smart man.
Main event, featherweight division. Josh Emmett, the troll, emerges from his cave for one last battle, taking on up-and-comer Ilia Topuria. Is it possible that Josh Emmett could come out of this fight looking even uglier than he's going into it?
That's a tough task, but I think Ilia Topuria is up for it. This is going to be fun for however long it lasts. I don't think Emmett's going to be able to get Topuria down. I don't think Topuria is going to be able to get Emmett down with just straight wrestling. So this is going to be a brawl on the feet. Topuria has shown a little bit of sketchy defense at times, and Josh Emmett has ridiculous power when he does land. I think Topuria is just the better striker, better overall striker, the faster guy. And Emmett's he's racking up the miles fairly quickly. That Rodrigues fight was a rough one. Went 5 rounds with Cater, which is not usually great for your health. I think Topuria gets him, and I think he knocks him out, because even when Emmett gets rocked, I still think he has pretty good wrestling. So I don't know if Topuria is going to be able to snatch a neck or do something on the ground. I think he's just going to have to ground and pound this dude out. So I took Topuria by TKO at plus 175 for unit.
Yeah, I think you hit on the most important point, and it's something that I had kind of discounted through Josh Emmett's entire career up until his last fight, and that's that Topuria is way faster than him, like not even close in terms of the speed. And heading into the Yair Rodrigues fight, we'd seen him against Calvin Kattar, who's very good technical striker, not the fastest dude in the world by any means. Same for Dan Ige, same for Shane Burgos. Mirsad Bektic is a wrestler who gets destroyed when you touch him. Kind of struggled when he faced MJ. That one was just on the feet, and he couldn't deal with Johnson's speed in that one, but eventually got the knockout, and that just ended up being a very slow-paced fight. And then that popped up again in big time in the Rodrigues fight. The speed difference there was massive, and Emmett had no clue what to do about it. He was looking for the big shots. He got the one takedown, which obviously that didn't go great for him in that fight. And I think it's going to be similar here, except he's probably not going to get a takedown against Topuria. He's going to be stuck on the feet against a guy who maybe doesn't have a ton more power, but is way faster, way more diverse a striker. Topuria is going to change levels. He'll go to the body. He'll go upstairs. He'll throw kicks. Emmett's really just kind of power punches on the feet. So I think that we are going to see Ilia Topuria's boxing come through in this spot. And as you said, he's probably going to get a TKO at some point. I mean, not a lot of 38-year-old featherweights tend to hang around and have a lot of success at top levels at that age. So I'm on Ilia Topuria. I think you can get the TKO at plus 190, plus 175. It's around a couple places like that. I don't know that you have to be too concerned about the sub. I know he went for it against Bryce Mitchell. I think this is more of a TKO spot for him, just because Emmett's going to do a whole lot better trying to scramble back up to his feet than Bryce Mitchell would. So I think he's going to be a little bit more dedicated to just trying to finish it with strikes. So that is going to bring to a close UFC on ABC 5. I've been trying to pay attention for the last 15 minutes or so.
We'll get you out here, Brad.
The first quarter of the old lacrosse game just finished. Canada just went up 3-2. It's beautiful.
There we go.
I'm gonna watch that for the rest of my evening. I hope you enjoy whatever you get up to, folks. Summer's coming. Watch this card. This is a pretty decent card. But do something on your Saturday nights instead of watching the dog shit cards that are coming up. As I said, I won't be here next week. Hopefully the rest of the crew will. We'll see you then.